good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, whenever you choose to listen to us. This is Top 61, episode 61 of Take a Poll podcast. I'm Declan Carroll, and I'm joined by the dictator, Andy Cummins. Andy, you've got your own way this week. There was no poll, no jumps, although I've managed to pick out two selections that I could drop any time. They're not necessarily at the end, so you can fast forward. Could drop them in one after the third race, one after the fifth race. Who knows? So you'll just have to keep listening to Andy's dribble about pedigrees. Andy, how are you? You looking forward to this card on Navan on Saturday?
I'm the captain now. After being disgusted having Wexford winning a pole over good racing at the Curragh last weekend, I've decided to, as you said, be a dictator and we'd cover Navan. In all honesty, it was just a busy week for me, so it was just easier to probably record as on a Thursday evening. So apologies for not putting the poll up. But yeah, I actually am looking forward to this card at Navan. I think a few I do quite fancy. Run of the mill card for a weekend, but you know it doesn't matter. Like we do run of the mill cards all the time, so it's no problem for me.
A run-of-the-mill card, an all-hurdle run-of-the-mill card now is, can be exciting as some classics.
Premier, that's like the Premier race days in the UK. This is a Premier race day. That's like the run-of-the-mill cards is a top
Premier League badge on the racing post.
Exactly. Yes, these are like top Premier race days. Like the 325. This is just happens to be a run-of-the-mill Premier race day in the middle of Saturday afternoon, but
one of their Sunday Premier race days.
That's the very same, absolutely. And then obviously next pod deck is going to be Irish Champions Weekend. Obviously a very, very important, very, very important weekend in the Irish calendar. So can't wait for that as well.
No, big weekend. I hope to get the numbers. It was empty last year, Leopardstown.
It was quiet,
a bit of a surprise to me, but there hasn't been too much about it. Like the first few years, it was built up really, really well, but I don't know. You try not coming, but like, people will say it's because of that. But August Rodan, who wants to
wide open champion stakes, like.
Sorry,
it's going to be a wide open champion stakes. So that's the way you have to look at it. And as you said, August Rodan, coming back to try and be a repeat winner, which is very rare in an Irish champion stakes. So it's not.
Yeah, but just on Leopardstown, like he turned up last year, and he was probably the city of Troy of last year. You know, I think we got more propaganda about August Rodan, maybe because, well, he was beaten in similar fashion in the Guineas, but he was beaten again at Ascot. And we probably got more. I think we got more. Like, there was the bit about someone from Japan trying to buy him for 60 million, wasn't there? Like, the propaganda machine went into overdrive. It was like the 1930s last year. People are giving out about what to say about City of Troy. Last year was definitely worse. When he turned up, there was still nobody at Leopardstown last year. So I don't know. I'll be there anyway, Andy, as you will.
I will. 100%.
If anyone else is, come say hello.
See you up in the Larkspur.
Well, that's it. We'll be up in the Larkspur for a few. How that lad's on the bar again.
I've actually just noticed, I don't want to give away any of my thoughts, but like Continuous is going to run, isn't he? I think I read somewhere Aidan was going to run him.
Oh, you'd imagine.
The Irish champion, 33-1.
Lovely prep for the arc.
Yeah, I love him, and I still don't think we've seen the best of him, so I'm very, very excited to see him.
I'd imagine he'll put him spot on for the arc, as it does, as it has done a lot of horses. We've seen many of them from this race. Andy, we've had the Phillips the weekend. We have Top 60 up on YouTube. It went down really well. If there is two horses running at Kilbeggan tomorrow night that probably will win, but we're not going to give them away. We'll have to watch Top 60 and boost those numbers for us. But we had a good day. You enjoyed it, Andy?
I had a ball deck, absolutely. And it was so good for Philip and his team to give us so much time. And Philip himself bringing us into the stables and everything. Filming the intro to the podcast beside a lovely 87 rated mare who I think, Declan, you're very fond of. A very, very unique podcast. Really enjoyed it. And again, big thanks to Philip and his team. And so nice to see Captain's nephew as well, a horse I'm always very fond of as well, and Philip's hatred of your list, which was like my personal favorite bit. But really, really great weekend. I'm delighted they got the weather for it, and hopefully Philip.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Luke Keane, who done all the work, really. And he was very, very brave now when we're in the box with that 87 rated mare. And she was having a good look at him, and she
turned around.
She was looking at him and she was stomping on the ground, and then she turned around and Lukey bravely, he stayed there. And no, fair play, he done all the work. He made it look really, really good, quite tasty. So thanks, Luke. But there's lots of trainers out there that could get Lukey on board to do a little bit for them and boost their social media profile, and that could bring in new owners, whether it's syndicates or whatever type of owner you're looking for. They put the name out there. Social media is so powerful. Now, if anyone is listening, he's well worth getting in touch with. I have his number. If anyone wants it, just drop me a message. But Andy, I think we'll push on with Navan. Everyone can't wait to hear what you think about these horses, parents, grandparents, and everything else. We'll start with the 215, the Irish ABF Auction Series Fillies Maiden, an IRE incentive race, 2-year-olds, 5 furlongs, 180 yards. We're not going to talk about these races.
You don't want to know what the Irish incentive is. No, money messing.
No, we've been through it before. For me, Andy, there's a few unraced ones in here that I'm not going to blabber on about. The one that I would be going with is a Goody Bear. She was second in the debut to a horse of Mick O'Callaghan's Distances. She'd be the one I'd be selecting now if I was forced to have a bet. But come on, you talk us through this race from number 1 to number. What have we got?
Cody Bear is probably sitting in his box somewhere in the in Rathbarry Stud, pretty confident that he's going to sire the winner of this race, because he's got, as you mentioned there, a Goody Bear who's a big eye catcher coming from the back of the field at the Curragh last time to, as you said, finish second to a Mick O'Callaghan horse. I think it was a Distances. So I think it was Distances.
Distances, yeah.
So that was a fine run, really, really nice debut, and any improvement would see him or see her quite difficult to beat. But I'm actually going to go with the other Cody Bear runner, who's running first time up for Willie McCreary. It's Stella Alpina. Now, I suppose the slight worry is she hasn't been seen in, I think, the best part of 4 months, give or take. I think it was the end of April when she made her debut. She was 6 lengths beaten that day by Sparkling Sea, who was ahead of Fairy Godmother. Now, those two reopposed in a Group 3, I think, or Royal Ascot Trial, I believe, at Naas on their next start. Fairy Godmother then reversed the form and then went on to win the Albany Stakes. Cold Hearted, who was 3rd that day, hasn't done really a whole lot for the form, but if you go down through the rest of the field, Stella Alpina was 4th. Transcending managed to win on her next start. She was 5th. And a filly that we tipped up on Twitter a while ago, Arisha Dasi, I think. Andy Oliver trained. She's gone on and won twice since. So the form is really, really reliable for in the context of a median auction maiden. She was only beaten 6 lengths that day by 2 group performers. Now, you can always bump into group performers in any Irish maiden, any 2-year-old Irish maiden. So, there is a chance that, the likes of, I can imagine, trained by Joseph O'Brien in there, because she's by US Navy flag in there off 8 stone 8, cheap enough stallion. There's always a chance you could bump into anything, but she is the standout on the form book for me, Stella Alpina. And I think any sort of improvement, if she's ready to go after a 4-month break, I think she's going to take a lot of beating. And the only one I would be worried about, Dec, is the one you mentioned, a Goody Bear. I would imagine those two will be top of the market and fighting it out. But Stella Alpina, first time up from Willie McCreary, inherited from Sheila Lavery. She's the one to beat, in my opinion, and I quite fancy her to win. It's assuming there's no debutants in there that are group class.
Okay, very good. So, you like mine as well. Hopefully we have the winner between us, and hopefully we have the one too. We will move on to the 250 Irish Stallion Farms ABF rated race for 2-year-olds over the same distance of 5 furlongs, 180 yards. Well used to these rated races during the winter, Andy.
Yeah.
I, to be honest, until we covered the first one, I didn't realise they existed on the flat, but here we are talking about them again. We've only 4 runners. For me, it would be Jimmy Shimmy it was 5.5 lengths off Snapdragon getting £1 earlier on in the season. Gets £10 today, and it's the only winner in the field, and that was over course and distance. That's a big thing for me. Like, when could be in the field of professional losers here, and this horse has done the business. But which of the quartet do you like?
Yeah, I could see the market getting this one completely wrong, because looking at as you said there, Snapdragon, who was defeated by Shimmy Jimmy, I'd imagine Snapdragon's going to start favourite. People just see Aidan O'Brien in a rated race for 2-year-olds and probably think, yeah, that's the one to beat, despite a trio of seconds. I have no idea how he was beat the last day. I think it was the nursery the last day. Maybe it was 2 runs ago. Yeah, a girl like you came from the army barracks in the Curragh to win that race that day. I think Snapdragon might have even hit 101. I've absolutely no idea how he was beat. He looked home and hosed. He's rated 90. It sets a fair ability, but like you're getting to that, as you said, that professional loser territory at this rate. You wouldn't imagine there's much improvement in him off 90, and he has to give weight away here. I definitely have Shimmy Jimmy over him, but the one I'm going to go with, and it's one I've tipped previously on the podcast, is Grand Mark for Fozzie Stack. I actually tipped her to win her Group 2 behind Truly Enchanting at the end of June after a really eye-catching run behind Heaven's Gate on debut. She hasn't quite lived up to expectations since that run in Group 2 company. She ran fine in the big sales race at the Ballyhane, isn't it? The Ballyhane Stakes at Naas. She ran fine in that. I think she was sixth. Yeah, she was 6th or 7th. Ran a fine race behind Heaven's Gate again, who went on to win that. And I think then she was a non-runner for the Louder. You could maybe make an argument she was a little bit below form when beaten by Revoke in a maiden back at this track last time out. Now, they were all over the track. She came up the near side and the winner came up the rail. And as you know, in sprint races at Naas, that can be, there can be definitely a golden highway up. Well, depending, it can often change actually depending on the ground. But that day it was up the far side rail. Dunica's that was second, came up the near side rail, and it's probably a serious filly for if you want one for your tracker. Just trying to get the name for it. She was second that day. Bear with me. Revoke. Say Yes to Dreams was the one that was second, that came up the near side. Was probably a very, very unlucky loser, and is going to probably win plenty of races going forward. But for me, Grand Mark just had nothing to bring her into the race that day. I would forgive her, and this smaller field, I think she has the potential to be 90 plus given the form that she's shown. I know she's ran 4 times and not won yet, but she's been keeping nice enough company, and I would fancy her to maybe beat these with your one deck, Shimmy Jimmy, maybe following her home. Okay,
very good. It looks like we'll have the 1-2 again. 2 races.
With a bit of luck. Well, we'll hopefully have the 1-2 there. There's only 4 bloody runners in that one.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the 325. The Simonstown handicap for 3-year-old and older over 5 furlongs. I'm not mad on anything in this race, Andy, but
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. If I was to take a chance, I'd be, and it's loose, this one. Like, I wouldn't be very keen. But Short Change, right. He ran okay in a course and distance maiden. He made his handicap debut the last day over 6 furlongs. Maybe didn't stay. First time in a handicap was tough, but I'd say this one could be big odds, massive. But massive. It is one that I think I can say outrun his odds, but might not have to do an awful lot to outrun his odds. But if you're getting a lot of places, could be one that's worth a go. But what way do you see it?
Yeah, this one's been your one there, Dec's been extremely difficult to train. Only 4 runs and is now a 5-year-old. And I think has ran at the age as ran at I think it took him quite a while to hit the track, and he's already changed yards, etc. So look, obviously he's shown some sort of ability to keep him in training at 5. I know he's rated 49, but they must at least think he can win a race, surely, if they've kept persisting with him. So yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. I came down on 2, but they're very, very speculative. One was a previous one I tipped on a podcast, Spirit of Eagles, the number 13 on the card. She's fallen down the weights like a stone through water, and we did mention on a few pods back that especially the sprinters, they do get a summertime almost kind of a weight drop by the handicapper, and this one is, as I said, has fallen through the floor. I think I tipped her to run well at Bellewstown off 53. She's now down to 45. I don't even think you're allowed to run off 45 in Ireland, so she'd be running off 47, technically £2 wrong. But it was definitely a lot more like it at Down Royal 2 starts back. Again, just not really breaking too well, and she just couldn't quite reach the leaders with a bit of a sharp 5 furlongs. She kind of pinged the gates well enough at the Curragh. She finished 12th, beating 10 lengths. But the main thing was that she got the break, and the handicapper has dropped her like a stone. And the only reason I'm kind of giving her a chance is that I marked Navan down, and even though it's a track that she's not really ran well at in the past, I marked Navan or Nace down somewhere with kind of a stiff finish over 5 furlongs, that where she might have a squeak of running well, and that's all I'm hanging this on. Like, just back her to kind of, or just hope that she comes home well. She definitely, her previous form suggests that she has ability to at least be competitive off a basement mark, and if she's not, well then I don't know what you do with her. You definitely take her out of your top tracker anyway. The other one I want to look at was Little Mimi, who's in a first time tongue tie, and Dec, this one is going to be bar like your one, I'd say, short change. This one's going to be a telephone numbers price, I'd imagine. She showed plenty of speed on her handicap debut at Cork behind Ginormous. And the reason I kind of liked her is when you watch the race, and you can see it in the post-race comments as well, she raced far side, and everything came up the center. If you read the post-race comments, it'd be race center, race center, race center, race center, and then it takes until the 7th place horse, I think, the 8th place horse in that race to say raced far side. She was 9th, but she was if you watched the race when the fields. Yeah, she didn't. She was actually second, she was very, very heavily eased at the furlong pole. She was like, when the jockey knew that all chance had gone, she was really, really heavily eased. But she showed a nice bit of bright speed, and on her second run in the handicap, assuming that the draw, does her a favour, I wouldn't be surprised if she ran a huge race. She mightn't be one for today, or she might be one for Saturday, but she might be one towards the end of the season. Just keep an eye on her, and she might be one that you could definitely pop in the top tracker. She might run a big race. Like, she could be 50, 66, 80 to 1 in this race. But just watch how she runs, maybe €1 or 2 each way. Definitely keep an eye on her. So I will take those two at big, big prices. That's Little Mimi and Spirit of Eagles. I was nearly going to say Wings of Eagles. So what price would they have been in this? Even over 5 furlongs. But anyway.
Look, was Little Mimi. Yeah, she is one I had a good look at, and she's one I had down as I'd just like to see a little bit more before getting involved, but has definitely shown enough to show that there's possibly a race in her. So
Wayne Lorden booked as well, so just
definitely one for the top tracker if it's not Saturday. But I'll take the gamble on short change at massive odds. Somebody give me something ridiculous, 1,000 to 1.
You probably get it. You might get it on the exchanges after a furlong.
Okay, we'll move on to the 4 o'clock, the Rathkenny handicap. Is this? Sorry, for 3 hours and over 5 furlong, same trip again. There is one now in this, Andy, that I'm quite keen on. Johnny Mortis filly, Emerald Harmony. She's up a pound for her second the last day, but the third, Rappel, has won since, and that defeat for Rappel has come in between 2 wins. Emerald Harmony hasn't been out of the first 2 in any handicaps. I think she goes in again on Saturday. I'd be sweet enough on her, but what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Emerald Harmony and I'm Spartacus, they like, that was actually the same Little Mimi race at Cork. Look, she's definitely in really, really good form, and you couldn't rule her out. I couldn't actually land on anything that I was really, really confident on in this race, but there is a horse in here, an El Pensioner, Only Spoofing. If the ground stayed decent, this lad tends to get let off the leash at Navan. They landed a absolutely ginormous gamble, I think it was May, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, backed from 50s, 40s, 50s into 5 to 1 and gagged up. You might remember from a few years back. So they do tend to, this horse absolutely loves Navan. And he ran well enough last time. I know he's a 10-year-old, but the sprinters can go on forever. Was 3 lengths behind Harry's Hill at Bellewstown. Last run at Navan was just touched off by Reinforce by 3/4 of a length. That was off 77. Was given that rival just the £20 that day. So that was only in July. He clearly retains the ability. The only thing that might put me off a little bit is if it was to rain, but I think we're due good weather this weekend. I think
it's to be warm, but we've had a lot of rain.
We have.
But then Gowran wasn't Gowran good the other night, and it had a bucket of rain here for 2 days. And Gowran's only an hour down the road, so I don't know what it's. Navan's 40 minutes away.
Yeah, you'll know in the betting. You'll know in the betting pretty quickly if only spoofing, if it's his day or not. But if you see money for him, do take note, because he definitely has the ability to win off this mark. Good ground or better, I would pretty much deem as essential for him. He probably won't run if not, unless they're getting him handicapped. But yeah, I'd take a little chance on only spoofing. You might get a nice early price. That early price might look ridiculous by the off, either embarrassingly short or embarrassingly or with a bit of luck, very, very long. So let's hope that we get a big run from the 10-year-old.
Okay, well, look, I am sweet enough on Emerald Harmony, and I think she'll be the first half of a double. So
Nice.
we'll move on. 4:35.
Rattling through this.
The Irish Stallion Farms ABF Fillies and Mares Maiden 3-year-old and up over 8 furlongs. And there's, I'd say, the markable point towards North Africa and Lil Tia. They're both coming back to a mile from 10 furlongs. I'm not sure they
Evenly
both
matched.
want to. Yeah, so the one that was the one I'd probably side with, it's Touch the Sound. She was second to Platoon at Leopardstown the last day. The Gowran form is working out okay. He was quite green that day on debut. So yeah, I think she'd take a bit of beating here. What do you think?
Yeah, you pretty much read my notes. I'm not like North Africa and Lil Tia, like they're very closely matched on their efforts last time out. They're beaten by an Aga Khan debutant. A little bit difficult to grasp the form. Like at a push, you could say they've ran somewhere in the high 70s. That should probably be good enough to win you a maiden, a 3-year-old plus maiden at this time of the year. But you couldn't know for sure. Final Curtain should improve for her first run, but again, probably didn't run to the highest figure in the world behind Evening Blossom. As I said, like that form isn't bad, but she hasn't been seen in about a month and a bit. So again, I probably want to see a little bit more away from that form. But it's Touch the Sound, as I said. She was behind Evening Blossom, but then put that run way behind her, went second to Platoon. That's the form that I would definitely want to look at here. I think we haven't seen Platoon yet. She was out of I Can Fly, if you remember her. I think she won the Boomerang Mile on Irish Champions Weekend, the Group 2 over a mile at Leopardstown, just before the Champion Stakes or after it. They keep moving it. Newtown Duke is rated in the 80s. It was fourth that day. Hard to know whether he ran to form or not. But it looked like a good run from Touch the Sound, who has definitely came forward from that Gowran run. And even though Johnny Murtaugh's filly Final Curtain did beat her that day, we've definitely seen improvement from Touch the Sound. I think that form with Final Curtain and Touch the Sound would be a little bit stronger than North Africa and Lil Tia. Although with that said, I think I would be going with Touch the Sound there myself.
Yeah, definitely. I don't like the look at North Africa and Lil Tia coming back quarter of a mile, and I think the form working out okay with Gowran and the second to Platoon. Touch the Sound is definitely the one to be with. We will move on to the 5:10. The Gorman Lock Handicap, a 3-year-old up 47 to 65. It's 1 mile, 2 furlongs and 40 yards. There's 2 I like here, Andy, but one of them is most definitely going to finish off that double. Reclaim was an eye catcher the last day, second in a second handicap. It's held up before flying home over 9 furlongs. He may have been taken off his feet in his first handicap before that, but her saver, Colin Keane, takes the ride for his father.
Got the lights.
Yeah. He was held up on his handicap debut the last day over the same trip in 9 furlongs and came home just as you'd like to see, one of those nearest to finish. When Colin takes the ride for his father, I think you can nearly just back them blind. You need to take note. So while I do like Reclaim, I think he's going to run a big race. Probably going to bump into one here and go up the handicap without winning. It's going to be her saver for me. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, so Colin probably went over to his parents there for Sunday dinner and Jared's out there. Got one for you now next week. Don't tell Jared to run one in that. That's an interesting shout, Dec. I suppose there is a little form update at the moment. Barraggstown Girl, as the night we were recording, managed to win at Clonmel off 61. So if they are to run her, she's in here off 9 stone 12 at a mandatory winner's penalty. So it would be interesting to see whether they run or not. She only won by half a length, so my hunch is like she's going to be probably wrong at the weights as a result of that winner's penalty, and she's in stall 18, so I'd imagine they're going to withdraw her. But what that does mean is that Struck by Churchill for Andrew Slattery with Keane Horgan claiming 7. She was second to Bargainstown Girl at the start of July, was only beaten a length and a quarter by her, and she went hurdling in her 2 starts at Wexford, subsequently 7th in a maiden hurdle, but then managed to win a maiden hurdle on her next start there. Only a couple of days ago, maybe last weekend pretty much, or maybe last Friday. I think it was Wexford on last Friday, wasn't it? So she won 8 days ago over hurdles, showing that her well-being is there, and she bumped into one, as I said, there in Bargainstown Girl at the start of July. Returns here off the same mark. The fact that she's won over hurdles in Bargainstown Girl, was subsequently 3rd and then won tonight. That strikes me that Struck by Churchill is in very, very good form, and given her recent form, she's probably well handicapped off 56. So that's where I have to go. It's the form book is telling you that. But although you never know, maybe Jerry's gonna ruin my bet there. So,
absolutely, you just backed them blind.
Backed them blind, yeah.
Just backed them blind.
Yeah.
That's all you need to look out for on the card.
I'd expect, if Struck by Churchill, I'd expect her to be favourite, and I fancy her to win. She was actually, before you said that about Jerry, she was one of the stronger bets that I had on the card. Her and the McCreary filly in the first race were my kind of 2 main ones on the card. But look, I do like Struck by Churchill. I'm going to stick with it, and hopefully Jerry's had. Actually, no, I don't want to have I don't want him to have a nightmare, because you're going to back her. So once one of us wins the race, that's okay.
Look, it's a good chance you'll split my 2. Our saver and but no, it's our saver for me. We will move on to the finale, which is always a bumper in Ireland. It's the 540 Lynn Lodge Stud Maiden. A 10 furlong bumper.
A 10 furlong bumper.
A 10 furlong bumper for horses.
You find a triumph winner in here.
You could do, yeah. 1 mile, 2 furlong, 40 yards. Andy, my business will be done by now. I'll have the double. I may have done a treble with Touch the Sound as well, and I'll be in the car. I'll be on the way home, so you can take it away.
Yeah, I've little to no interest in this race. I'd sticking around though. If you were at Navan, I'd stick around the Pride Ring and see if any of these are huge, and see if they take a hurdle.
Look like they
any of these. Yeah, like you could, like there's a few in here, like for example, Self Interest, who's debuting. Debuting in September of your 3-year-old career, and you're by Camelot. Like I'd say this lad's already been shown a hurdle, even though he's still a colt. Like that's 135 grand yearling as well. And half brother to Protectionist, who won the Melbourne Cup. So no wonder he's in the Lloyd Williams colours. Maybe, he won't be going to any Melbourne Cup this year anyway, but maybe he's a long-term project, or possibly you'll see him in the JP colours at Christmas time. Who knows? Look, it's not an easy race to kind of get your head around. Get has been a little bit disappointing. Galileo filly. Her form is good enough to win a run-of-the-mill maiden. Whether this is a run-of-the-mill maiden is another thing, though. Naturally Nimbles ran to 83. Again, jury's going to be out on whether that Son of Too Darn Hot is an 83 rated horse. I suppose he's ran to it in a handicap at the Galway Festival, so it's probably more reliable 83 than you would see in most maidens at this time of year. And then John Murphy has Anthenium in here as well, who was a good third at a huge price. Well, not really a good third. It was behind Gallon. It was more so. It was a conditions race. They ran him in a race well above his grade. Even though he's beaten like half the track, I suppose he still ran to an okay. He's ran to an okay level. Like he'll win races. Maybe not this race, and maybe he'll win a few over hurdles as well, because he could be possibly going down that route too. But no, Dec, I'm probably going to stick with Naturally Nimble. I usually wouldn't go for an 83 rated horse in a race of this nature, but as the fact I was at the Galway Festival, and he's actually gone up a pound as a result of it. It kind of suggests that he'd be able to run to that, and if he runs to that, he should be difficult enough to beat, I think.
Okay, well look, it's no bet for me, but Andy Oliver does have 3 in it, so I might keep an eye on which one of those looks like they'll jump a hurdle and might get straight into the box afterwards and straight to Willie Mullins.
That's it.
Yeah, that rounds up Navan, Andy. Strongest selections on the card.
Definitely Stella Alpina in the first, and I hate to go against you, Dec, but I do fancy Struck by Churchill in the 5-10, so they'd be my 2 strongest on the card.
Right, well look, mine's obviously Emerald Harmony and her Seifa. It's a double, maybe even turn into a treble with Touch the Sound. But enough of that, Andy.
Enough of that nonsense.
Oh, flat rats.
I am not. Yeah. So as I said, I was going to threatening to resign if we did another jumps meeting in the summer. So, now, but go on. Take away Kilbeggan. I'm interested to hear your horse start past the post.
We do have some jumps tomorrow at Kilbeggan. If it's raceable, it was. I think. Did it get heavy there yesterday or
did it?
Oh, they're certainly kicking up a lot. I don't think it was the description they advertised, but look, they'll race. The ground's okay at Kilbeggan.
Yeah.
The first one is at 5:40. It's a horse I may well have put up here before. It's Brogman River, 6-year-old. He's staying on 5th, beating 12 lengths on a second handicap over 2 mile 6 at Tortoise earlier on in the year. He was off since and had a pipe opener just last week over 2.5 miles. He's up to 3 miles now. I think he'll take a lot of whacking now tomorrow night. I think he could be a good thing. And then watch the weather in the 6:50. He's making his handicap chase debut off 120. He won a handicap hurdle off 117. He's placed in 3 beginners chases and only managed to get £3 above that. So I think in an open enough race, I think he could be a good thing as well. So I'd be strong enough on that double. And you might even throw in the 2 Philip Rothwell horses that were discussed on tab 60. You have to listen to that to find out who they are.
It's only about 8 minutes long, so it's not too bad.
That's all.
Yeah.
You might have a nice 4-timer there, but my voice is starting to act up.
You're starting to die, yeah. That's okay. Look, it's been a long week, man. It's been a long week.
I've lost the bridle here. So have you anything to add before we jump?
No, just keep liking, sharing, subscribing. I'm very much looking forward to next week. We'll get a few bits up on the channel, maybe a few little Q&As, maybe even a little Twitter space if we're both free and the listeners would like to as well as the podcast, obviously, don't get me wrong. But yeah, no, very much looking forward to next week. Hopefully be some money in the kitty with some winners at Navan and Kilbeggan as well. And it's a pleasure as always, Dec. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much. Good luck, lads.
All the best, guys.